Hey man, thanks for checking out Billy the Kid Adventures. Join me as I talk about Cleveland's iconic TV news personality, the legendary Dorothy Fuldheim. A trailblazer in television, Dorothy became the first female news anchor in 1947 at the age of 54 here at TV5 in Cleveland, where she worked until she was 91. A historical marker at the Channel 5 building commemorates her remarkable career. Television burst onto the scene following the conclusion of World War II. WEWS Channel 5 became only the 11th TV station in the United States in 1947 and the first TV station in Cleveland. When TV5 created their first initial shows, they quickly hired Dorothy Fuldheim to become the first ever female newscaster on TV at the age of 54 in December of 1947. In the ensuing decades, Dorothy would go on to deliver nightly, no-nonsense, highly opinionated commentaries on the TV news, along with interviews of many of the most famous and historic people of the time. She conducted thousands of interviews over the years. Her final interview was with Ronald Reagan in 1984 when she was 91 years old. Arguably, her most famous interview was with that of Jerry Rubin, 1960s radical, who she ended up stopping the interview and kicking him off her show. The event made national news and was cheered by her mostly conservative TV audience.
I see what happens. Alcohol has destroyed the American middle class, made it the most destructive and racist class in the
Why do you want a revolution?
Want a revolution to be free, so that we can free about the seal, free from racism, free from pigs. We gotta eliminate all the pigs.
About pigs, are you referring to human beings or animals?
I'm referring to policemen.
Well, I've got a shock for you.
You don't like that?
I'm very friendly with police.
Oh, you are you? Well, I got a shock for you. I'm very friendly with the Black Panther Party.
Ouch! Stop the interview.
Unfortunately for her, the same conservative TV viewers requested her ouster when she sided with the Kent State students in the 1970 shooting on campus. The station was flooded with phone calls and mailings calling for her removal. She even received a death threat and offered to resign, but station management coaxed her into staying, and she weathered the storm. As Dorothy's celebrity began to grow, she appeared on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show several times, including one episode with Richard Pryor, in which they debated the state of poverty in America. And locally, legendary TV horror show host Ghoulardi really enjoyed lampooning Dorothy, often referring to her as Dorothy Baby. Dorothy's celebrity also made her the target of a group of revolutionary communists in 1980 who decided to make a statement by hitting 86-year-old Dorothy in the face with a pie at one of her lectures because she represented the ruling class. In typical Dorothy fashion, she shrugged it off and was back at work, and can't say the same for the commies who served time and had to pay a fine. Dorothy herself even got in on the act, spoofing her very serious personality with that of the wild biker leaving the station on Friday to the tune of Born to Be Wild and Leader of the Pack. Dorothy Schnell was the daughter of Jewish immigrants. Her father was from Germany and mother from Russia. She grew up in Milwaukee, where after graduation from college, she became an English teacher for a few years. In her spare time, Dorothy joined the Wisconsin Players, a local theater group, and she ended up playing Juliet in their production of Romeo and Juliet. The group's production of The State Forbids went on the road to Chicago and was viewed by none other than women's activist Jane Addams, who was very impressed with Dorothy's passionate performance in the lead role. Afterwards, Jane Addams spoke with Dorothy and asked her to be a speaker at one of her upcoming fundraisers. Dorothy was a natural and eventually went on to become a lecturer on the well-paid lecture circuit at the time. Over the next few years, Dorothy would go ahead and get married, move to Cleveland, and get her first job in radio, one of many, all the time continuing to lecture. As her celebrity grew, she even took to hosting tours every year to Europe, one of the many reasons she would talk about going there. On a 1932 summer European trip, Dorothy was in Dresden, Germany, coincidentally the same day Hitler was to speak at a Nazi rally. At the urging of one of the locals she'd befriended, Dorothy attended the rally with her. Tapping into the German language skills she learned from her German immigrant father, Dorothy experienced firsthand the anti-Semitic message Hitler used to rally the crowd. Learning afterwards that Hitler would be heading to Munich, Dorothy, on a whim, decided to go to Nazi headquarters there and try to get an interview with him. After arriving at Nazi headquarters, while talking to his secretary, Hitler walked in and Dorothy addressed him in German. "Herr Hitler, I heard you speak a few nights ago and was so impressed that I hope to interview you." Dorothy's flattery worked, and Hitler granted her an impromptu interview on the spot. As Dorothy notes, she managed to irritate the Fuhrer a couple times and said later, "Luckily, he didn't even know I was Jewish." Upon Dorothy's return to Cleveland, the local newspaper made note of her interview with Hitler, and over the ensuing years prior to World War II, Dorothy delivered countless lectures across the country condemning Hitler, the Nazis, and their anti-Semitic rhetoric, sadly falling upon mostly deaf ears. And if you're not aware, a 2015 Cleveland-themed episode of Comedy Central's Drunk History included a segment on Dorothy Fuldheim featuring her interview with Hitler. Thanks again for checking out Billy the Kid Adventures and my Dorothy Fuldheim video. For more adventures, check out another iconic Clevelander, Margaret Hamilton, Cleveland's Wicked Witch. Link to the video is below.